welcome to my channel. If you're new here, well, welcome. And if you're not new, welcome back, Clarity Chaser. I missed you. How are you? I hope you're having a great day. So as you can tell by the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about whether or not Christians need to go to church. First, I'm going to jump into some common reasons why I know people don't go to church. And then I'm going to talk about why I in the past have not gone to church as often as I normally have before. And then finally, I'm going to jump into why I do think we as Christians should go to church. Let's jump into some of the reasons that I've heard people don't go to church. One of the biggest reasons I hear is that people do not trust pastors. They think pastors are using their money to like go fund strip clubs. Okay, I'm kidding. That's dramatic, but people really do think this kind of thing. They think that they're using the tithe and offering, the money that's supposed to be going to the church, to pay themselves. So that's reason number one. Reason number two is that people don't really necessarily feel like they're in the right place mentally and spiritually to go to church. So they just are like, I need to get my life together before I go to church. Okay, so that's reason number two. Reason number three is people don't feel comfortable, I guess, at church because they feel like there's too much holy rolling. There's a lot of people like hooping and hollering and shouting and falling over and rolling around on the floor, and people just they're not comfortable with that, and so they just choose not to go. Another huge reason I hear people don't go to church is because they feel like there's way too much drama, there's way too much mess, it's just messy, stuff like that. They are rubbed the wrong way by the people in church, they're rubbed the wrong way by people who claim to be Christian, so they just don't want any parts to do with it. Another reason is that for some people it's just an inconvenience. This is going to be the last reason, but for some people church is just inconvenient. The distance is inconvenient, it's too far from their house, or the time is inconvenient. You know, y'all know sometimes churches only have like an 8 and a 10, and some people just don't want to get up that early. It's inconvenient. They might want to be watching the football game on Sunday, so they're just like, I'll sit this out. That's the last common reason that I know of why people don't go to church. If you guys know of some other reasons why people don't go to church, leave it below in the comments and we can talk about it. Okay, so now that we've gotten other people's reasons for not going to church out of the way, we can talk about my reasons for not going to church in the past / why I'm not going to church like currently, why I'm not going frequently, weekly right now. Okay, so in the past, I guess I should preface this with like a slight backstory of, well, it's not a backstory, but just slight background information that I grew up in the church. And I don't think that growing up I ever went more than a month without being in church. I don't think I've ever done that growing up. I really genuinely enjoyed going to church. I liked learning about God. I like being around my friends because I had friends at church, and so I enjoyed going to church. And I went frequently until I went to college. So I stopped going to church. I stopped going to church. I was stressed. I just had other things going on, and I was like, I can't be trying to find a ride. I didn't have a car my first year, and I was like, I don't know anyone up here really who's going to church. I'm not trying to take the shuttle over there. I don't want to walk over there. I can't walk to church. I want to take an Uber because I didn't even know how Uber worked when I first got into school. And I didn't want to take the bus. So I was just like, whatever. So for like a few months this was going on that I wasn't going to church. And then I figured out that churches have live streams, 1, and 2, sometimes they just post old sermons on their Facebook page, their YouTube channel. They'll post sermons on a podcast. So when I figured this out, I was like, I don't even have to stress about not going to church because I don't have to go to church. I can just watch my television. For me, it was kind of like, why do I need to get up at 7 o'clock so I can get there by 8? In my head, I was like, this don't You gotta work smart, not hard. And it seemed to be, for me, like working hard would be waking up to go to church. And working smart was staying in my bed and watching the sermon online later when I had recuperated from my night before. Which leads me into the second reason of why I pretty much stopped going to church. I felt pretty much what other people felt about going to church in regards to, I need to fix my life before I step up in this church. So for me, not that I was living super wild or anything, but I was wilding, like on the lowest of keys. I was kind of wilding, and I was just like, I don't need to go to church, because anytime I went to church while I was wilding out, and guys, hear me when I say that when I say wilding out, it wasn't that deep, but for me, I just felt like I needed to be perfect. I needed to be whole, and everything needed to be okay with me before I set foot into church. And every time I went to church, when the preacher would speak and the word would be on something that related to me and related to an issue that I was having, I felt attacked. Rather than accepting what he was saying as coming from God and coming from love and being rooted in love, I was taking it as a personal attack. In retrospect, I know that he was not speaking directly to me, but y'all know, sometimes when you're sitting in a sermon, it feels like the pastor is speaking directly to you. And it's very startling, because it's like, ugh! Like, was that a direct attack on me and my behavior? You got something to say? Like, it made me want to buck up in church, because it felt like a direct attack. I couldn't even bring myself to go to church regularly, because it just every time felt like a direct attack. And I felt like I was missing some things, some fundamental things that I needed before I got to church, but I didn't know what those things were. And so I stopped going as frequently as I wanted to. I wanted to be in church every week, but I felt like I shouldn't be there, because I was still living my life wrong. Like, I was still partying on Saturdays and sleeping over people's houses on Saturdays and just drinking. I just felt like I couldn't get right, and so I didn't need to be in church. So I stopped going. And again, in retrospect, hindsight is 2020, y'all. I realized that this was like a lot of, I realized that a lot of this was rooted in shame. And I felt so shamed by what I was doing that I couldn't even bring myself to go to church, because I felt very exposed when I went. I felt very open, and I felt like I had to share parts of me that I wasn't ready to share yet. And I just didn't want to do it, so I didn't go. I guess we could fast forward. It was early 2016. At this time, I was kind of isolating myself. Like, I wasn't really hanging out with as many people. Not that I ever hang out with that many people, but I wasn't hanging out with as many people as I was when I first got to school. Wasn't talking to a lot of boys anymore. Wasn't like fraternizing with people when I was walking to class anymore. I just was kind of keeping to myself. And I realize now that that was definitely God trying to put me by myself so that I could have this kind of breakthrough moment. Because when I was with myself, I realized that I need Jesus. Like, I realized that I needed God, and I needed him to take me whether or not I had my stuff together. I knew that I needed to go to God. I didn't know about him coming to me. I didn't know about none of that. I knew that I could pray, but I was just like, let me go to him, because I know how to do that, and I know that if I can get to church, I can get to him. And so that Sunday I went to church, y'all, I was in there acting a plum fool. I acted a plum fool. I cried the entire sermon. I don't think I stopped crying that entire Sunday. I don't want to say that I continued to go to church weekly, because I didn't, but I definitely understood the importance of going to church. Okay, so that's why I wasn't going to church weekly before, and I guess now I have to talk about why I'm not going to church now. So guys, I've told you before, I don't know if you watched the intro video, but in my intro video I talked about me moving from Tallahassee to Tampa. So just as I got comfortable with the church in Tallahassee, I moved to Tampa, and I kind of have just been church hopping slash just not going, because nothing is really, let me be honest. I was gonna tell you guys, I was just now, wow, my mouth was fixed to tell you guys,
I just haven't found a church that works for me.
To tell the entire truth, I have been to churches down here that I just, when I go, I can't even focus on the word. It feels like something's pulling my attention somewhere else. And I recognize now that it's an attack trying to get at my mind and distract me from the word, so that I can leave the service and be like, I didn't really feel the word. And that's something that I've had to come to grips with in myself, because I felt so many times when I go to church that I just didn't feel the word. And now I just realized that that was an attack. I recognize that as an attack on me. It may not be the same for you. If you don't feel the word sometimes from a sermon, that might not be an attack on you. But for me, I recognize that as an attack, because I really want to be involved in a church, and Satan is not happy about that, because I really do believe that I could do great things if I were connected to a church here, and I could give so much if I were connected to a church here. But there keeps being like voices that are like, oh, Christina, maybe not this church. But you know, it's something that I'm praying through, because I'm trying to be able to discern what voices are what. Like, is this God? Is this the enemy? Is this the world telling me that this is not the church for me? I don't know. So in full transparency, I'm currently not connected to a church aside from my home church, which is in Miami, so I can't really go there. So in the meantime, I do what I did in college. I watch sermons online, and I listen to podcast sermons. Would I like to be connected to a church? Yes. Am I actively pursuing being connected to a church? Yes. I'm praying about it. I'm asking God, guide me. And sometimes I think a lot of things would be just so much easier if I went to God about it first. But I definitely jumped into the church finding process by myself with no guidance from anyone, and certainly not God. But it's okay, because it's never too late to turn back to Jesus. I am constantly praying about this. Guys, this is my prayer notebook. I love this so much. You guys, I'm like cheesing, because this is literally my favorite thing in the world. And I decorated it, and it's so cute. Okay, I'm not gonna show you guys all of it, because I think I want to do a separate video on it. But I do write down the bulk of my prayers, and all up and through this for like the past few weeks has been me saying, God, please guide me to a church. But you guys know what? I just still haven't gone, because I've been being disobedient, and that's something I'm working on. I'll keep you guys updated on whether or not I'm going to be obedient this week and fight the enemy's attacks. So hopefully that goes well. Prayerfully that goes well. That will go well. That's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna declare victory over that whole situation. I'm gonna be connected to a church by the time this year ends, in Jesus' name. So now that I've talked to you guys to death about why I don't go to church, let's talk about whether or not I think we as Christians need to go to church. In my humble opinion and in my understanding that I've gained through God, I do believe that Christians should go to church. And I just have like 3 reasons why. My first reason is I do believe there is something to being in the house of the Lord with other people who are experiencing the presence of the Lord. So I do believe that where 2 or 3 are gathered together, miracles can happen, breakthroughs can happen, chains can be broken. And so another reason, and guys, this was like, I'll share the stories. I recorded this video already. I did. I recorded this video yesterday on Thursday. It's Friday now. I recorded this video on Thursday, but I didn't like how it turned out. My hair looked crazy, so I'm re-recording this. But in my notes that I have right here, for my next reason that I believe Christians should go to church, I said that you should know that the enemy is trying his darndest to separate children of God from one another. And then under that I put Proverbs 27:17, which says, as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. when I woke up, I'm a big believer in receiving confirmation from God about about everything that I do. Honestly, not pretty much everything that I do, but I try my hardest to get confirmation about things from God in everything that I do. And so when I woke up this morning and I opened my Bible app, imagine my surprise and my joy when the verse of the day was Proverbs 27:17. Guys, I was like, I have to redo this video and I have to make sure that I still include this part, because apparently God is trying to get this into me. I'm gonna call myself an introvert, okay? Because I believe that I am. And I just, for a very long time, I've been okay with being an introvert, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being who you are, but I do believe that my tendency to isolate myself has kept me from having a lot of godly relationships with people, and has just not been totally healthy for me in terms of spiritually. So I was blown. I can tell that God is really trying to work on me with this, and so I wanted to share it with you that if you feel like you don't need to go to church and you don't want to go to church because people are messy and church people are hypocrites, pastors are hypocrites, I don't want to be up in church with all them people be sick and trying to shake your hand, or you're like me and you're just an introvert and it gives you kind of anxiety to go to church because there's so many people, I want to encourage you to go. Just as iron sharpens iron, one person can sharpen another person, and the devil knows that, and the devil is trying to convince us that we don't need to be around other people, and that people are going to hurt you, and people are going to talk about you, and people are going to do all of these things. But notice that you rarely have a thought that maybe I can sharpen this person and this person can sharpen me, like when I go to church. If it's not the pastor, I guarantee you that you will meet someone who will share a word with you. And it may not even be a magnificent word, but if you allow yourself to open up and be sharpened by someone else, and allow yourself to open up enough to sharpen someone else as well, y'all, I do believe that great things can happen when we allow ourselves to open up and be around people, especially people who believe in God. And I know you can be around people who believe in God outside of church, like that's duh, but I mean, that's the easiest way to find them, is to go to church. I don't know what else to tell you guys. That's just the easiest way to find people who are going to sharpen you, spiritually, mentally, physically. You might even meet a personal trainer, child. You've been trying to get fit all year. I'm talking to myself. You've been trying to get fit all year. When they say greet your neighbor, you sit and you look at everybody else greeting each other, and your personal trainer is sitting right next to you. The person who could be training you is sitting right next to you, and you mute. Okay? Don't let the devil keep you on mute. Don't let your own whatever's going on in your mind keep you on mute. Push past what's telling you in your mind that you can't sharpen someone else and no one else can sharpen you in the church. Push past that thought. That's not God telling you that. God wants us to commune with each other. Okay, now I'm done with this subject. Now the last reason that I do believe we should go to church is, it kind of plays into what I was just talking about, is that it gives you a chance to serve. Now, hear me when I say that you don't have to be in church to serve. I wake up every morning and I say, thank you, God, for giving me another chance to be in your kingdom. And thank you for giving me another chance to serve in your kingdom. How do you want me to serve your kingdom today? Every morning, I want to thank God for waking me up and letting me be in the kingdom again. And I want to ask him what he wants me to do for the kingdom. Like, how can I serve in the kingdom? And I mean, this for me, God told me to do this, to do this YouTube thing, and to do my prayer journals, and to do my journaling things, other journaling things, like Bible journaling, and my blog. And so yeah, God will give you a chance to serve outside of church, but I do believe that there is something special about serving inside of a church that's reaching people directly. Now, of course, as Christians, we are supposed to minister to people who are not, Jesus spoke to people who were not Christian. It's fine to serve people who are not Christian. We're supposed to serve each other. We're supposed to use our gifts to serve each other. That's in Romans. That's why God gave us gifts, so we can serve each other. That's it. That's all I'm gonna say. So, y'all, my hands, they just be moving. I don't know how to stop them. I do believe Christians should go to church because there is something about community, there's something about being able to serve, and there's something about fighting against the devil that I just think we should all try our best to engage, if you can, to physically attend a church. And I'm not going to be a hypocrite, guys. I really am going to be obedient and go to church and start going as often as I can. I don't want to come off as condemning anyone. If you don't go to church and if you don't want to go to church, that is your business. I am saying that I believe that Christians should go to church, but if you're a Christian and you don't go to church, that is your business. And I'm going to leave that at that. So, it's been great chatting with you guys. If you're watching this the day that I post it, it'll either be Saturday or Sunday. So I hope you have a great weekend. If you're watching this after I already posted it, I just hope you have a great day. And I hope you take what I had to say with love and caring and compassion. And I hope that it helps you find a little bit more clarity in your life. Okie dokie. Mwah.